Hey guys, this is Mitch with Smedley Plumbing here, and we wanted to come with you guys and offer you a 2,500 mile update of our Ford E-Transit. We've had this thing for 2,500 miles now. We know a lot more about it now than we did when we did our earlier videos, and we wanted to kind of share with you our experiences over the last 2,500 miles. Ironically, we chose to film the intro of this right next to the gas station prices over here. If you don't like paying $4.33 per gallon of gas, tune in and learn if the E-Transit would be right for you. One of the things that we wanted to chat with you guys about today is the range of the E-Transit for how we're driving it and what we are experiencing. We are using the van for plumbing service. We serve about a 20-mile radius from our home base. That radius puts us in a mixed use of highway and in-town and in-neighborhood usage. With that mixed use of mileage, we are experiencing about a 135 to 140 mile range whenever we take it off of the charger fully charged. It will actually kind of adapt as you drive. If we did a lot of in-town driving on our last charge, the efficiency numbers go up. So when you give it a full charge, the range will kind of adapt based off of your most recent driving, and it will give us a higher range. If we did a lot of highway driving on the most recent charge, it's going to be on that lower side of things, maybe 133 to 135, again, based off of how we're driving it. The highest I have ever unplugged it off the charger and seen the range was 143 miles to a charge, and that's anticipated range based off of your most recent trips. It's possible that if you only do in-town driving and you don't do any highway at all, you could probably see 150 to 160 miles of range pretty comfortably. That's not even a high estimate. That's a very conservative expectation. If you're doing all highway and you're doing over the road usage, you're going to be seeing ranges closer to the 110 to 120 side of things. So based off of how we are driving it, you will end up seeing for sure the Ford's listed range. Ford lists the range anywhere from like 103 to 110 miles depending on which roof level you have. We have the high roof model, so it's the biggest sail, so to speak, the most wind resistance. We are still seeing upper 130s to low 140s on the range. We wanted to kind of remind you of the payload that we're working with in our Transit so you have that data to make your decision. We've recorded a couple of other videos, so we'll go ahead and actually reference them here. If you click in the upper right-hand corner of the screen right now, you'll see a video that we shot with a completely empty Transit. The only things in that Transit at that video were myself, our videographer, and then like a small case of videography equipment, and that was it. Everything else was empty of the Transit. So we got a reference of range and everything else with it empty. A little while later on, we shot another video where we loaded it down with our full payload that we work with every day. If you click in the upper right-hand corner of this video right now, you'll see our fully loaded range test with our full payload in it. Both of those videos, we went across the weigh scale to measure the differences between unloaded and loaded. We wanted to compare and contrast how much payload affected our range. We are running about 18 to 1900 pounds of payload at all times in this unit. We use the unit for service plumbing. We have a fixed level of inventory on the truck and tools on the truck. Doesn't really change all that much. With 18 to 1900 pounds, you can click on those videos and see the differences in range. Spoiler alert, the range is not affected much at all by payload. I think the reason for that is electric propulsion is incredibly efficient. The weight of what you're pulling has less to do with your range than how you are pulling it. And what I mean by that is the speed and the style of driving that you're pulling it with. Just like we had talked about previously, your range will be better in town than it will be on the highway, and that seems to be kind of regardless of how much weight you're pulling. I think the range has significantly more to do with wind resistance than anything else. The mid-roof and the high roof units, they're going to see a lower range regardless of payload than a low roof unit. Our unit is a high roof unit, so we would be seeing the worst range possible in comparison to the other two, and we're still really, really happy with the range because we're seeing 30% more than what Ford said we would see. Keep that in mind, that payload has a lot less to do with range than style of driving. Other things that we wanted to chat with you guys about as we're backing into our supply house here. The unit has a couple of different drive modes. That is going to change the efficiency that you're seeing a little bit out of the unit. We wanted to kind of walk through those drive modes with you. Also, we wanted to go ahead and kind of tease out there a little bit that we are going to do an upcoming video where we compare the efficiency of all of these different drive modes. We know which way seems to give us the best of results, but we're actually going to do a video that gives you guys the hardcore numbers of what the efficiency changes are between the drive modes. For now, let's show you real quick how to select the different drive modes so that you can kind of get set up on the most efficient one for you. From your main display screen here, there's a button just next to the volume button that's got a flag, a snowflake, and a green or a leaf on it. That gets you to the different drive modes. You've got normal drive mode, you've got eco drive mode, and then you've got slippery drive mode. Maybe if it's raining or snowing or whatever the case may be. The slippery drive mode just takes away some of the initial power hit that you would get if you goosed the accelerator as soon as you started driving. It's basically going to limit how much power goes to the back tires early on, and it's going to make that pedal feel a little foggy as well. Normal mode is going to make it drive very much like a normal vehicle. It's going to give it full power sooner and everything else. Eco mode, if you're looking to get the most range you can out of this unit, eco mode is going to be where you want to live at. And if you leave it in eco mode, every time you turn the van on, it will stay in eco mode for you. Another feature that you will want to incorporate in your driving or be aware of, down here on the gear shifter, you have L mode. It's a button in the center of the shifter. So right now, if I push on the brake, you can see the light change as I go through all the different modes. L mode is a button that once you put it in drive, you can push L mode and stay in L mode. L mode stands for low range mode. L mode does two things. It gives it a little bit more power early on. For instance, like if you were trying to tow something or you were trying to start up a really steep hill, you might need a little bit of extra power early on. L mode will work for that. The biggest thing that L mode does, the moment you let off of the accelerator pedal, it gives you 100% full regenerative braking the moment you let off the pedal. It also turns on your brake lights if you are off the gas pedal as well. Because you are fully regeneratively braking, you need to be warning the cars behind you that you're slowing down even though you're not touching the brake. In our second loaded range video that we did, we incorporated L mode throughout the entire day. We saw an improvement in our range using L mode over our first video that we did where we were unloaded in weight and not using L mode. Now we have learned that you can actually activate L mode using the brake pedal, and when you activate L mode using the brake pedal, it is a much more efficient way to go. What works best for us is we leave it in eco mode. Eco mode gives you the ability to coast when you slow down. We drive in eco mode at all times, but then when we want to use regenerative braking, one tap of the brake pedal, you just tap it and let your foot off, and that brings on regenerative braking about 50%. Another tap of the brake pedal brings regenerative braking on to full capacity. And so it makes it very easy for us to use as we're driving around town. If we need to slow down just a little bit, but we don't actually have to get on the brakes, we can just tap the brakes once and we get some regenerative braking. If we are slowing down to come up to a stoplight or a stop sign or a planned stopping distance, we can tap it twice and use regenerative braking to do almost all of our slowing down. It doesn't quite give you one pedal driving, but it makes it very adaptive for you. You may still have to use the brakes a little bit to actually come to a complete stop or whatever the case may be. It works great on the highway as well. As traffic is starting to slow down, let's say it's an emergency thing where you can just hit the brakes. Let's say traffic's just hitting a little bit of a lower speed. You can just tap the brake pedal once and it's going to slow down and give you a little bit of regenerative braking in the process. Combination of being in eco mode and using the passive L mode available through the brake pedal is a really, really efficient way to drive the unit. One of the other questions that we get a lot about driving the E-Transit, people are very inquisitive on how a business is able to function with a vehicle that has such low range in their mind. Kind of one of the interesting things about people in general, they apply how something affects them across how it should affect the masses. Everyone's a little bit different. If you're using a Ford Transit day in and day out, but how you're using it is long drives on the highway, you're probably looking at the E-Transit going, there's no way I could ever make that work for me because I drive 300 miles a day or whatever the case may be. And that may very well be true, and if that's the case, then the E-Transit is definitely not for you. We use the E-Transit for plumbing. How we use it, we service an area of about 1,200 square miles. So that is about 20 miles in all directions from our home base. A lot of people, they'll very short-sightedly, they'll see us make a comment on social media or something like that about how the E-Transit works well for us when they say, oh, how do you work with such low range? Does your town only have 9 people in it? Very much doesn't. You know, we service the direct community that we service has about 60,000 people in it. We service right outside the Kansas City metropolitan area. Total populations around what we're servicing is deep into the millions of people for sure. The E-Transit does us really, really well. Again, mixed use, highway and city. We serve 1,200 square miles of area, and we're right on the fringe of the metropolitan area. If we go west, we're into the metropolitan area. If we go east, we're into the country. That's why our driving is a good mixed use. For sure, if the area you service is in a dense area of population, the E-Transit should work really well for you. Just as a side note, as far as business goes, if you're in an area where within 1,200 square miles, you're seeing 600, 700,000 people or up to 1 million people in that area, you might need to reevaluate your target area that you're servicing. You might be driving a whole lot farther than you need to. One of the philosophies that we have in our business is why drive all the way across the metro for work when we can just drive across the street. Again, this is an E-Transit view, but you might be, if you're in a larger metropolitan area and you're finding yourself having to drive crazy distances for work, you might need to re-hone where you're getting your work from, and just whether you stay at gas transit or E-Transit or it doesn't matter, you might just find yourself doing a little bit more efficient within your business if you can tighten down your target area that you're searching for there. E-Transit is working perfectly for us, serving an area of about 1,200 square miles, maybe a little bit more. We are still able to run out from home base, service all of our needs for the day, and come home, and we are doing all of that with less than 100 to 130 miles of use each day, and we're charging every night. It plays perfect for us. We have made it about halfway through our day today. As we had told you earlier, this is kind of like a walking, driving review. We're giving you this review as we make our normal stops throughout the day, doing what we have to do. So we've just hit up our lunch spot for the day. We're gonna grab some Hawaiian Brothers for lunch, and then we'll get back to sharing some more things that we've learned over the last 2,500 miles with our E-Transit. We just had a really good Hawaiian Brothers lunch. Now we're driving down the highway here a little bit. We're gonna hit up a car wash. This thing hasn't had a bath in about a week. It's looking pretty ugly. In the process of that, while we're driving here, I wanted to talk to you guys about chargers. Chargers are going to have a significant impact onto how well you like the E-Transit. If you do not have a charger that is anything more than just what plugs into the standard wall outlet, you are probably not going to like your E-Transit very much at all. The unit comes with 2 chargers. It's actually one charger with 2 different ways to plug it in. One of those ways is a standard 120 volt wall outlet, and it takes over 100 hours to charge the thing from all the way dead to all the way charged using that standard wall outlet charger. I mean, it's nice to have. I keep mine right behind my seat. That's more of a in case of an emergency type of situation. The unit also comes from the factory with a NEMA 1450 plug that will let you plug it into a 240 volt 50 amp wall outlet. It'll let you charge it that way. If you look up in the corner of the video, you'll see a link to a video we've done on chargers and charge times. We dive into this a little bit deeper in that video. You'll plug that into a standard NEMA 1450 plug. It gives you 240 volts of charging. I think it's about 30 amps, if I remember right, maybe 35 amps or something like that. Watch that video, you'll get that one. That dramatically reduces your charge times. As soon as you get to 240 volt charging, your charge times dramatically decrease. I want to say that one was like 10 or 12 hours to charge it from all the way dead to all the way charged. And then finally, what we're using, I have the Ford connected level 2 charger, and it runs on a 60 amp circuit. It charges using 48 amps of power. We can charge the Transit from all the way dead to all the way fully charged in a matter of about 8 to 8.5 hours. For somebody who uses the Transit every day and then goes home and sleeps every night, I can work with an 8.5 hour charge window because I need time to sleep, I need time to hang out with my family, and I need time to eat dinner. There's plenty of time to work with an 8.5 hour charging window. The big thing that it takes to make the E-Transit work is you have to be able to work with its range in a given driving cycle. That's the most important part about it. I don't want to necessarily even say you have to make its range work in a given day. Maybe you have a cycle in the morning and then you have several hours of downtime and then you have another cycle in the afternoon. You can work with that. You can totally work with that. Making the range work in a given cycle. If you drive somewhere and you have less than an hour or two before you need to turn around and drive home, and those 2 drives don't work with the range, it's just not going to be a good candidate for you. For us, we did the math before we bought the unit. We drive an average of 70 miles a day. So the 100-mile range worked perfectly for us. As luck would have it, we find out that we actually get closer to 140 on the range. It works even better. There's many a days, like today, for example, I didn't charge this thing last night. We only put like 20 miles on it last night. I didn't need to charge it before driving it for today. Chargers are going to have a big impact for you as you're making your selection. If you can, opt for that Ford Level 2 charger, but at the bare minimum, have an electrician install a NEMA 1450 outlet wherever you plan on charging the unit. You're going to thank yourself for that one. As we were pulling into the car wash here, we got reminded of another thing that we were going to talk about with you guys anyway, and that is the Pro Power Pack that we have on this unit. We opted for the extra Pro Power Pack, and what that does is it gives us 2 120 volt outlets in the rear of the Transit that we can plug items into, and there's a 20 amp circuit that runs those. We also get another one on the passenger seat. It's another 120 volt outlet right on the inside of the passenger seat. That lets us do a ton of stuff. We're mobile plumbers. We can do a lot. We can be charging our batteries in between jobs. There's actually many a times where I've treated it just like a normal gas van with an inverter. I have gone through and run my sewer auger, my sewer camera, or any other power tool I need to run. I can literally just plug it into my van and run that tool on the job. One of the neat features with the Pro Power Pack, we are getting down lower in our range. We only have 51 miles of range left on this particular charge. It'll give you a warning and it'll say the Pro Power reserve setting is 2 miles of charge away. And so what that means is as we drive another 2 miles, it's actually going to prompt us to turn off and disable the Pro Power Pack. Basically what it's doing is it's is making sure that as you get lower in the range, you have enough juice to get home where you need. You can disable that and you can bypass it and so on. It's just a good safety net that's built into there. Another really cool thing with the Pro Power Pack that we've learned over these 2,500 miles, if I plug in my battery chargers into the unit and I want to charge batteries in between jobs, it will actually prompt me when I start the vehicle. I cannot take it out of park. It'll give me a warning that I have to push OK to, and that warning says that it recognizes something is plugged into the Pro Power Pack, and to make sure that it is stowed away properly and not going to be something loose and falling around the cargo area as we're driving around. It's kind of neat. Let's say you may be using this thing for a little bit of camping or something else like that, and maybe you have a blender plugged into it. It's basically going to make sure that you get that put away, or at least think about it before you start driving away. That's one of the neat features about it. And I will say, the Pro Power Pack, so far I haven't tripped a breaker on it or anything, and I'm running big drain cleaning equipment off of it. So far I haven't found anything that I can't run off of it. It's working really well for us, and I'm really glad we splurged for that feature. It's saved our butts a couple of times on a few jobs. If you hit the features button and then you go to the Pro Power onboard feature, right here it's going to give you some of the metrics you can have with it. Right here I turned it on and off, and there we're getting our warning again because we're near charge. Also, if you tap the rear outlet button, this is what will turn on the rear outlets. You can also turn them on from back there. There's a little green button right next to those outlets that you can tap and turn it on from there. But you can disable the Pro Power system 100% just by tapping that button there. The Pro Power Pack will not work unless the van is on. I'm going to turn the van off right now. Then I'm going to turn it back on accessory mode. We'll cycle through all the warnings and all the everythings. Okay, when the vehicle is on accessory mode, it will not let the Pro Power Pack come on. The vehicle must be running to supply power to the outlets. This is important. The reason why it's important is because the vehicle cannot be running when it's plugged into the charger. What that means is you cannot be using your Pro Power Pack while the vehicle is charging. That's pretty important. There are some people that are considering turning these into camper conversions and whatever the case may be, and they're thinking that they'll be able to plug in a charger at their campsite, but then also run their outlets in the rear, and those two things can't happen simultaneously. The vehicle must be on for Pro Power to work, and the vehicle must be unplugged from the charger in order for it to be on. Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed our video of our 2,500 mile review of our E-Transit. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. That'll give you more updates as we release more videos in the future. We've already referenced a couple of our previous videos in this video. Also, feel free to ask questions or comments on any of those videos. You can see that we're very good about answering all of those questions. If we know the answer, if we don't know the answer, we may test it out and make a whole video just on that for you guys. We're some people that bought this for work. We have very vested interest in the high performance of this thing. So far, it is meeting every expectation we've had. We're gonna be your in the field hands at making sure that we go over everything that you might be concerned with on this thing.